I really like it when our team is goal oriented. When we do a development project, we always try to define the goals first. When we teach kids, we always ask them, first page in your lab book after the cover is to define the problem and document your mission or your goals. So being goal oriented is, we try to make that our culture at Build It Yourself. And the way I think of these 4 goals, big picture Build It Yourself goals, I hope we will all develop our product and teach with these goals in mind. We look for builders who want to work on something big. We like to have members on our team who will inspire other members of the team. And if we do 1 and 2, then 3 and 4 will follow. In my mind, we'll have fun and we will be successful. I'll take you through this, through our whole website now. Let me go back to the beginning, so you'll know where to find things. Our content, our main content for teachers is on the 2009 site, the old site. And here, our 30 missions are posted here. Our missions are divided into these categories. And if you go to contraptions or computers, you'll see, if we go to flying machines, you'll see we give an overview. This is most often the brochure copy of the project, and then the statement of the problem, statement of the mission, and then all the materials you'll need to teach that course. So all 30 projects should have all of the material, the teaching materials we need inside of the project page. Make sense? Back to Build It Yourself, main page. Now there's 2 areas here where you can get information. We have lessons that apply to multiple projects. So for example, the presenting ideas, ugly, average, and way cool is right here. Problem solving tricks is right here. These are general PowerPoints. And you can, when you should feel you should have the freedom to choose which PowerPoints you want to use with a particular group of kids, depending on how advanced they are or what their interests are. So you can see our lessons are divided into these categories. Then we have something called Build It blocks. And this is our new version of Build It blocks. We've, as you see, have 4 versions of Build It blocks. And here we have these are modules that kids can go to. Sinsin, can you explain a little bit about what you're doing for Build It blocks on Blender?
Sure. So I've just been making some new modules and also updating some old ones. So each of the modules is basically like a PowerPoint that guides kids through making a project. So yeah, some of the ones I've done are like how to position a camera in Blender, or yeah, how to make an animation and things like that. So it's like a simple small project that can be combined with other things.
Cool. So if a kid has a question about how to do something, our vision is that ultimately the TA should be able to point them to Build It blocks, and then the TA can go out and have a cup of coffee. The Build It block should be enough so the kid can figure out how to build a coin sensor or how to animate an arm in Blender just from this. That's our way, our vision for being flexible. We don't want to have the teacher have to know how to do 10 different things in Blender and 10 different things in Minecraft and 10 different things in Scratch. I mean, no teacher is going to know all of those things. So the way we address that is through Build It blocks. It's modular construction, and it's part of the engineering process. An engineer, when they build, they don't generally build a doorknob, or an architect doesn't generally build a doorknob from scratch. They go to a catalog to find a doorknob or a template for a doorknob. So that's sort of the engineering way. Okay. And then, so we've covered building blocks, projectware, lessons. The other area where you'll find useful information is for all of our training materials will ultimately be posted here. These are all videos from 2 years ago, but we'll put our new videos up here. And all of the materials, certain teaching materials are here. All employee information is here. Your timesheet is here. Payroll instructions, yada, yada, yada. So just a tour of our website. One last thing I'll show you is when we go to our webcast room, instead of remembering the complicated Zoom room, you just need to go to buildityourself.com, click on webcast, and that will automatically launch you into our main Zoom room. If you want to launch another Zoom room, we're working on actually how to make this so you can launch your own Zoom rooms. But if you go to webcast here and host meetings, we have 2 Zoom rooms. So you should be able to launch your own Zoom rooms with this information. Emma and I have to do one thing here because Zoom has changed their authorization process. So we need to clean up an email so you all can launch your own emails. Okay, Vincent, would you like to share with everyone how you like to teach Minecraft?
Sure. And would you like me to present it like I was presenting to a class, or would you like me to...
Absolutely. Yeah,
Okay,
great.
sure.
Pretend we're little kiddos.
Got it. Okay. Let me share my screen here real quick.
Okay.
Let me
you
know when
all.
you guys...
Thank you all for joining, guys, and thank you for submitting your lab books. I enjoy reading your lab books.
All right, so let's go ahead and take this from the beginning. So I'll ask you some questions, guys. You don't actually have to answer if you don't want to, but it's just sort of an example of, what I'd ask a class. So, hi guys, welcome to the BIY Lab. My name is Vincent. I'm going to be the resident builder and architect that will be guiding you through our journey in Minecraft. We're going to use our skills and powers to build some awesome buildings and some way cool statues, monuments, and more. Let's get into it. So we always like to start out by highlighting the problem. Do we have any brave builders in the class today that would like to read the problem?
Great. We are a group of hotshot builders and thinkers. We dream about developing an advanced civilization. We're exploring strange, barren lands where no one has been before. There is no civilization in these lands.
Right. Thanks, John. Now, in order to answer the problem, we always come up with a mission. Now, if there's a brave reader, they can also read the mission. But for the sake of time, I'll just say it now. Our mission is to build way cool new civilizations so that we can inspire people with our fountains, gardens, inventions, structures, etc. So let's get into some of the details on how we're going to do that as a team. First of all, let's stand back and look at the big picture. Who do some of you guys think had the most amazing civilizations? And why do you think?
The Mayans.
The
I
Aztecs.
love the Mayans. The Aztecs, excuse me. Right, Ali.
Yes, exactly. So, as you can see, some of the ones you guys have mentioned are actually here. You can look to older civilizations or even more contemporary modern architecture for influence. And sometimes even fantasy is acceptable. Does anyone know where this is from? Bonus points.
Wow. Is that, that's from a movie?
Yes, Star Wars,
It's
but not
Star
the new
Wars.
ones. the good
All
ones,
right.
the old
All
ones.
right.
Anyway.
I didn't know that. I found that picture, but I didn't know where it came from.
Oh. What do some of you think these famous towers symbolize? And then the class can answer. Well, if you said Egyptian civilization, France, or even some really hungry Americans, you'd be correct. But one important thing to realize is that these towers communicate what they represent through their designs, colors, and original forms and builds.
Vincent, may I chime in here for a second?
Sure.
Back on that previous slide. So what I often say here is that throughout history, there's been some amazing builders, the Egyptians and the Greeks and the Parisians. They built magnificent statues that have lasted through the ages. And in America, we have the McDonald's Burger Tower. So we have a big problem, guys. We need to make Minecraft builds that will last the test of time. Okay, sorry for interrupting, Vincent. Just like,
No, that's fine. That's a
give you
good
the
one.
freedom to sort of try to put your own story behind these, especially when you can relate it to a problem/mission.
Right. All right. Whoops. There we go. Here's a couple towers that I think are way cool that were created by people in our class, just like you guys. Hopefully, you'll be able to take a look at some of these and use the details to build upon and then even inspire your own builds while we move forward. Now, a tower is always complemented by a super cool monument or statue that goes along with it. In this class, we're going to teach you guys the difference between average versus a way cool build, how to use regular Minecraft blocks to create an unorthodox form, and a structure that communicates how developed your civilization is. We don't just want one brick, we want to see you really test yourself and push the limits of what we can do with Minecraft. Here's another example. This is a Sphinx that was built by another student in one of our classes. They even included some redstone, which you can see better when you enter our Minecraft world. It allows for interaction and it creates a totally cool movable architectural structure. Now, architecture is very important. And here's a few of my favorites: Frank Lloyd Wright and Rem Koolhaas. Now, as we always say, we don't rebuild the wheel. In fact, we used some of our influence to actually guide our projects. So we look to different architects, artists, and designers so we can learn the best way to build and create without doing too much extra work in the process. Remember, thinking like an artist means that you pull inspiration from what's around you. Let's take a look at this campus in Alibaba. They use Chinese ice pattern window screens for inspiration for their roofing and the sides of their buildings. An item that may have seemed normal, but they created an entire plan just out of that. Tencent used this thing called biomimicry. Now, can anyone take a look at this picture and take a little guess about what biomimicry might be?
Wow. It's beautiful the way you superimpose the images here. Yeah, it's building to represent nature. Gaudi is an architect who did that, who pioneered that, no? Gaudi was a famous Spanish architect who
Yes.
started building to represent nature.
Oh, sorry, excuse me. So now, real quick, I'll show you guys what we might get into a few classes from now. We'll focus on the shape of this one building in Alibaba. It's actually pretty easy to build crazy, funky shapes by starting with something simple, like just a rectangle, and then chopping pieces away, like I did in steps 2 and step 4. At the end, we're left with a way cool shape that we developed from something that was just normal. We'll use these techniques and many more to really shape our building strategies and influence the type of output we'll have. One of the most important things that you guys will be using is your floor plan, which you'll document and reiterate in your lab book. Now, a floor plan is very important because it will guide your entire building process. You can use Hogwarts or even the White House. It doesn't really matter as long as your research is thorough and your floor plan is accurate and well thought out.
Great.
Here's a few examples: the Sophia Church in Turkey or a Chinese estate. You can use things that are right on your doorstep or things that are way around the world. Remember, creativity is key. And it's also very important that you make sure you stick to your floor plan. An easy way to do this is to think of some activities you like. Shout a few out.
I like to have a garden.
Right. So obviously, you might want a greenhouse or an open garden patio to be part of your floor plan. You can start quick and easy by bubbling a diagram out like this and just marking where you think things should loosely go. Then you can develop it a bit more. It gets fun the more practice you have. It's like riding a bike. Last, you want to make sure that you lay your floor plan out before you build and that your structure reflects your floor plan so that you don't have to build a whole wall, change your mind, and rip your building down. I don't think your contractor would be very happy if you were an architect that did that. Lastly, we want to make sure we have some way cool designs. A regular Lincoln log type house is all right, but a dragon with a fountain and a staircase made of its tongue can be a lot cooler. All right, I've talked you guys to death. Now let's hop into Minecraft and start covering some basics. And then
Great.
when we hop into Minecraft.
Cool. I tend, this is great, Vincent. Thank you for taking a tour of how you introduce Minecraft. I tend to try to speak no more than 3, 4, 5 minutes in a PowerPoint, and then stop and give the kids a 10 to 15 minute break. So if you can, sorry, Vincent, can you go back and share the first part? I would stop after the problem and mission, just present the problem mission, maybe talk a little bit about the history, or maybe just stop at the problem and the mission, and then say, okay, I want you guys to take 10 minutes to add a page or two in your lab book that document the problem and the mission. And then I'd talk about, after they finish documenting those pages in their lab book, then I'd go to slide 5, and I would say something to the effect, a good engineer, a good architect, before they start building something, would be well advised to research. Let's figure out what other people have done and see if we can improve on the ideas of others. Let's not reinvent the wheel. So let's study what other architects have done. So this would be a 5-minute, this might be a 5-minute discussion of the history of architecture. And then before we go to slide 7, I would say document in your lab book your favorite architectural pictures. So that way we don't blah, blah, blah for too long. And it's a lot of action and a little bit of talk. And then I might go to slide 7 and say the first thing in a great civilization is to build a symbol of your philosophy, a symbol of what you want your society to be known for. And so our first mission in building this great new civilization is to build a tower. And here are some examples of towers. So I might only talk for 1 or 2 minutes here, and then they have a 15-minute or even 20-minute exercise to start building their tower. So in general, a 1-hour work session, in the way I look at it, is we should talk for 5 minutes in the beginning, and then they should exercise for 15 minutes. Then we should talk for another 5 minutes, and then they should do an exercise for another 15 minutes. And then at the end of the hour, we pass the ball around and we critique. And Vincent's a master at critiquing. I think all of you who have taken art and design courses know the importance of critiquing. So we try to emphasize that with kids. What do you like about this design and what do you think could be better? Okay. Please chime in, guys, if you have any thoughts about this. We like to hear different perspectives. You know, everyone should be free to present in their natural style. And everyone should be free to try to adjust to the general tenor of the class. Sometimes that's difficult because sometimes we have kids of very, very different abilities. And as I'm sure you can attest to, Ali, that's the most difficult, right? When you have kids of many different abilities. Any tips, Ali, you could give us on how you handle at school a class where the interests are dramatically different or the abilities are dramatically different?
Most of the time, John, I try to motivate their interest and also their own skills. I try to, as you said right now, show an example. I think Vincent was doing it because we were the students. I mean, that way, like speaking, like giving us the example.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was listening to him, and I was remembering that you said, well, if you need extra training and you need to go, you really motivate that. I said, okay, well, where should I go? What time is your class, Vincent? Because the examples that you show made me research. For example, I like when you were describing the Alibaba and the Tencent, like you were comparing the pictures. But I think that as John said, you have to stop there and motivate the students to research what will be the one that you like, especially if they are kids, because not all of them read or not all of them like get into research. Like well, I don't know, depending on the things they like, depending on where they studying or I don't know, their interest. So, but when you show them not only about cartoons or things they like at their age, but you push a little bit more, like you did, you show them about ancient civilizations, and they say, oh no, that is boring because that is history. I don't want to know anything about history. But maybe you can find like the balance, like you did with the movie. You mentioned a movie and history, so they start to be attracted to what you want to propose.
Great.
Those are my examples at school, because sometimes they want to do what they like, but we also have to share culture and history and everything with them, so they also reach another level. That's how can I say it? Reach another level of knowledge.
Great, thank you, Ali. Our vision, guys, is to present the problem and mission and inspire them with a really playful, tongue-in-cheek, computer game-like, comic book-like story. And if we set the stage, we should be able, and we show them some examples, some research, we should be able to show them building blocks ultimately, and then go out and have a cup of coffee. That's our vision of how we handle flexibility. And the kids with interest in art can focus on the art modules, and the kids who are less talented at Blender, they'll have 10 different Blender modules, and they can choose the Blender modules that are easier. And those that are more advanced, if they go to Build-It Blocks, they should be able to adjust from this library. So that's our vision of how to handle flexibility. It shouldn't rely on the teacher, because we'll never find a teacher who's a mechanical engineer, a computer scientist, a storyteller, understands the psychology of kids that person doesn't exist on this planet. So we need teaching materials to help our teachers understand the disciplines that that they just aren't familiar with. Okay, unless anyone has any comments, we especially like to hear what you think is useful and what you think is not useful, so that in the future we can make our training program, our preparation programs as fun and short and constructive as possible. Melanie, any thoughts? What are you liking so far about the preparation program, and any thoughts on what we could do to make it better?
I think I really liked the idea of showing kids different ways to relate to what you're talking about, what you're teaching. And yeah, I think maybe a better way to teach the class would be asking more questions, and when it comes to building, maybe how they could do it, trying to resemble a little more of their surroundings, their culture and stuff like that. And yeah, give them some time to think about the answers instead of like giving them a lot of information at once.
Great point, Melanie. I think Ali is saying a similar thing. When you can address the interests of the kids, when you get to know the kids, and a kid is into basketball, you can use examples of basketball, and that will catch their attention. Great point. Chubi, may I ask you what you thought of the way Vincent, I know you're studying architecture. May I ask what you thought of Vincent's approach to introducing architecture?
It was fairly interesting. I really liked the integration of different ideas that they can use. Like, for instance, the idea of biomimicry, or not necessarily idea, but like just different tactics within architecture. So he kind of introduced those different concepts, and then saw how I liked how he was able to like piece them together in such a way that a child would understand. But I mean, I did also agree with the fact that it was very research heavy in a sense, which was still really good in that aspect. But it was just like, I don't know, like if you're a child, if you might lose attention.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it was still very, very thorough, and I really liked the presentation.
Great. Unless there are any more questions, we'll adjourn, and last session tomorrow, and then we'll invite you to join webcast workshops. Great.
Perfect.
Thanks for joining, everyone. Thanks for your work on developing new products, new materials, and for sending in your lab books.